Member of Congress, but to be sworn in by Mimi Silbert is something beyond, something so very special. So what an honor it is to be sworn in by Mimi in this temple of redemption. And America is a country of redemption, and Mimi is the queen of redemption in all of America. So to have her swear me in with my hand on the Bible from the interfaith community, Rita Semmel and Michael Pappas, to do so with Bella holding the Bible in the presence of my dear husband Paul. Thank you, Paul Pelosi. Staying there, and Mabel, Mimi's dog. Yay, Mimi's dog. I do want to acknowledge that it was a special honor to be sworn in with each and every one of you here, and the great mayor of San Francisco, London Breed. Thank you, London. Thank you, London Breed, for being with us today. Thank you. I have a few things I want to say to you. I acknowledged the San Francisco Boys Chorus, but remember the song, and I acknowledged my favorite passage of the verse of the America the Beautiful, but their first song was Give Me Hope. There's hope. And Mimi talked about hope. And hope is just what it enables us to prevail and persist. And people always say to me, and you've heard me say it a number of times, where is hope? Hope is where it always has been, sitting there right between faith in ourselves, faith in our future, faith in our country, faith in God, faith in the goodness, in love, faith in charity, faith, hope, charity. Faith in the goodness of others gives people hope. And America, when I was raised in Baltimore, Maryland, I said this in my speech the other day at the Capitol, we were taught that public service was a noble calling, and that we had to serve with our hearts full of love. And that America is a country whose heart is full of love, but we have to make sure that people identify it that way. And we have a challenge right now. So I thank our chairperson, David, for his leadership of the San Francisco Democratic Party, giving us the auspices and the troops and the person power to run the office, the red to blue victorious office. Thank you, David. And for your kind words about our work together, recognizing that immigrants are the revitalization, the constant reinvigoration of America, and that make America more American. And I mean, Sophie Maxwell, her mother was my dear friend, one of my co-chairs when I ran the first time over 30 years ago. She has made her own mark as a supervisor, continues to make her own mark in giving people hope, to recognizing that redemption is what our community, our country is about, and acknowledging that what we did was a collective effort. People decided they wanted to make a decision to participate. They either joined a club, the clubs were part of the party, coming together, ever expanding their impact in all of it. Thank you, Sophie Maxwell, my dear friend. And John Burton, what can we say about John Burton? He and Kimmy are here as family. We are all family to each other. Official, personal family, official family, family over the years. And one of the matriarchs of our family is Jane Morrison, who is with us today. She's just so remarkable. Who could keep up with her? And again, we've met other officials who are here today, and some others in the crowd now. Let me just say a few things to you about hope and about San Francisco. And we talked earlier, some of us, about what I said yesterday about, we talk about America's heart being full of love. That starts right here in our city, with our San Francisco values. The city of St. Francis, named for St. Francis, his song of St. Francis is our anthem, make us an instrument of thy peace, a channel of thy peace, where there's darkness, light, where there's hatred, love where there's despair, hope, the list goes on. The list goes on. To forgive as to be forgiven. Redemption. And so here we are in Delancey Street. It's home to so many of us on so many occasions, celebrations, celebrating the lives of people who have left us. Agar Jakes, we did that here. Our dear Agar, you mentioned John. And so John is about family, about the Burton family, about the Democratic Party, the official family, the political family, and the rest. John, thank you so much for honoring us with your presence, for honoring our country with your leadership, our great state, with your relentless, persistent, dissatisfied attitude of making life better for so many, many people in our country. Thank you, John Burton. Another time I'll tell you some campaign stories. But for now, let me say this. I think that we are at a place, a very special, pivotal place for our country. It's hard for us to remember, but there may have been in past times in our history challenges equal to the one that we face now. This is something very, very different. Forgetting politics for a moment, just looking at the economics of it all. We have an economy right now where the disparity in income between the wealthiest people in our country and working families in our country has never been greater. And we have to make sure, our friends in labor are here, we have to make sure that we change that, because it is diminishing the middle class. The middle class and all those who aspire to it are the backbone of America. And unless we sustain that, we undermine our democracy. Guess what? Today, the 6th of January, the Epiphany, the Feast of the Epiphany, Christine referenced it earlier. Today is the day that some people, some very well-paid CEOs, by today, they will have made for this year as much as a low-income person makes in a whole year. Whoa! That cannot stand. That cannot stand. They make a couple million, $1 million, $2 million, or more a year. They've already earned with a minimum wage person makes in a year. Feast of the Epiphany, 5 days, 6 days into this. So we have to have policies that recognize, address, and change that. And that's really one of the overarching issues that I spoke about when I was sworn in as speaker the other day. The other is a challenge to this generation, which is the climate crisis that is about environmental injustice. Environmental injustice. And so we have to make a decision, because the decision is a health decision for the air that our children breathe. It's an economic decision for America to be preeminent in the world in green technology. It's a national security decision for us to be protected and safe from all of the impact of climate crisis in the world, whether it's drought or whether it's famine or whether it's flooding or whatever it is. And it's a safety issue because we are fraught with hurricanes and fires and all these kinds of things that there is denial in Washington, D.C. about the connection between human behavior, our end, and what is happening. And it is a moral decision, and that's why the evangelicals and people of faith join us, because if you believe, as I do, that this is God's creation, we have a moral responsibility to be good stewards of it. So as we make judgments about legislation, we want to meet a few different tests. One, does it reduce the income disparity, the injustice of it all in our country? For over 100 years, the labor movement tried to work to change that. The middle class has a union label on it, and they are trying to unravel that. As we make decisions, are we giving money to polluters. That's what this administration, an administration of cronyism, corruption, and incompetence, and decisions that pollute the air our children breathe, the water they drink, go against food safety, etc. They don't mind government being shut down because they don't believe in governance. They don't care that. So that's why this week we sent to them the bills that had already been passed by the Senate. And the Senate said no. The Senate, Senator McConnell said, no, the president won't sign, I'm not sending. Well, every day this week we're sending them individual bills. We're sending first a bill that says we want to open up the bill that opens up government for the Treasury Department and the IRS, because probably 100 million people will not get their refund if government is closed. So let's get them roused up about whether we should open up government. On that same day, we'll send them the agriculture bill, which is about food stamps. And it's about food stamps. People will not be getting their food stamps if government does not open up. The next bill we'll send is the one that covers the parks. Our treasure, the parks, so that we can have our parks accessible and clean and safe for our visitors. And we'll have one on affordable housing, but the Transportation HUD bill, we call it T-HUD, Transportation HUD bill, so that people who need that, the actions of that department will be able to have access to housing. The list goes on, but we're doing it one bill at a time to see if these senators are going to say, no, I don't want you to have food stamps. To the farmers, I don't want you to have what we said we were sending you because the president has messed up on trade. I'm not sending you your refund check. We want them to feel the pain one bill at a time. It's unfortunate that we're at this place because we want to hasten. We want to get to what we said in the campaign, that we are here for the people, to lower the cost of healthcare in our country by lowering the cost of prescription drugs and protecting the pre-existing condition benefits. Secondly, to increase paychecks by building the green infrastructure of America from sea to shining sea. Bigger paychecks. A third part of our For the People agenda is H.R. 1, to bring respect and dignity to government by lowering the involvement of big, dark money in politics. Part of that bill is to capture Sean Lewis's initiatives to reduce the voter suppression that is going on in our country. And part of it is to pass the Voting Rights Act once again. That is the For the People agenda. But what we also promised is what we asked the Republicans to do, and they didn't do, and we said when we are in charge, we will do it. First one among those is to pass common sense background check legislation to honoring and heeding the pain and the call of the families of gun violence in our country. That will happen on Thursday. We are introducing H.R. 8. That is on, excuse me, I said Thursday, I mean Tuesday, January 8th, H.R. 8, the anniversary of the assault on Gabby Giffords. We're introducing the bill that day. Christine mentioned that already. Another bill that we will be introducing right away. We have bipartisan support for it on all the things I mentioned. The lowering the cost of prescription drugs, building infrastructure, gun safety. We have bipartisan support in the Congress and in the country on this. I'm not sure about lowering the involvement of dark money is getting to bipartisan support, but that doesn't hold us back. But the next one, we have the votes in the Congress in a bipartisan way to pass the Dreamers Act, the Dream Act. As David said, our patriotic dreamers. In doing so, passing that bill, we will make America more American. And it's a fight that we have. And then the third bill, and Christine referenced it as well, is the Equality Act to end discrimination against people in the LGBTQ community by making them part of the Civil Rights Act. I just want you to know that, because you hear a lot about investigations and this or that, and we certainly want the American people to have the truth, and we'll make sure that they do. Yeah. But at the same time, we want to get results for people in their daily lives, to give people a sense of security about their financial stability, to make sure that they are not discriminated against, to do so in a way that it gives people hope. And this is just the start. These are the things that we have numbers for and rollouts for legislation, but we'll be doing much more. So now to get to again, I thanked David and I thanked, Sophie for their work, and each and every one of you for what you did to help us, a net gain of 40 seats. We took 43 seats. So can you imagine how exciting it is to be elected a woman Speaker of the House in the Congress that will observe the 100th anniversary of women having the right to vote. To have that happen, we have over 100 women in the House of Representatives. That's the biggest number ever. 95 Democratic women, imagine that. 95 Democratic women in the House of Representatives. 40% of our caucus are women. Over 60% are women, people of color, and LGBT community. Beautiful sight to behold. And with this class, this huge class, because of all of you, 64, 65, it depends, we have some races undecided yet, new members, a dynamic new class, beautifully diverse, 35 of them women, imagine, 35 of the new class women, all of them enthusiastic about making a difference for our country. And when people say, oh, this one's to this and this one's to that, that's the beauty of our caucus. The beauty, as I always say of San Francisco, is in the mix. We do not want to be rubber stamped to each other or anybody. The beauty is in the mix. The beautiful diversity, ethnically, gender identity-wise, geographically, generationally, in every way, even in terms of thinking, is what we respect. So it's going to be in a very, very exciting time. Time. It's all about time. The time that we are in, challenged by difficult circumstances in the executive branch. I keep reminding them that the legislative branch is the first branch of government. Legislative branch. And we have, as the legislative branch, a responsibility to be a check and a balance on the executive branch and on the judiciary. And we intend to do so. So thank you, San Francisco, for being such a hotbed of ideas, whether it's ideas about individual freedom, liberty, and justice for all, but we pledge to the flag, and that means economic, social, environmental, every kind of justice, whether it's a place where we have been in the forefront of so many ideas about the future. We are a land of pioneers. They came here, that's our legacy. and we are pioneering ideas as we go forward. I couldn't be proud. And no, let me just say this to each and every one of you. It's a great honor to be elected Speaker, nominated by your colleagues in your caucus, elected Speaker of the House, or leader, or whip, and any other titles I've had. But there is no title that means more to me than be representative from San Francisco as I step. Thank you for allowing me to be your voice, to allowing me to be your voice, and giving me the latitude to lead the House Democrats in this very, very important time. I think that what gives me hope is all of you. I said in my remarks the other day, and I say here, that we intend to have this be an open Congress where people will see, and social media will enable us to have interaction in real time about what is happening there. No more dark of night, speed of light bills to have a tax scam, to give tax breaks, 83% of the tax breaks to the top 1% in the country. Sinful. And so it's going to be transparent and open so that people can see. To the extent that we can be bipartisan, everything I named earlier has bipartisan support. That is our goal, to find common ground. Where we can't, we must stand our ground like a rock, as Thomas Jefferson said, like a rock. And then also to honor what our founders had in mind, which was e pluribus unum, from many one. They couldn't imagine how many we'd be or how different we'd be from each other, but they knew we had to strive for some oneness. And that oneness is where, again, we find our common ground. And I do believe in the American people, that when they know what the decisions are and they weigh in, we can even get the Senate and maybe even the President of the United States to sign our legislation. But just as I close, did I say I was going to close before already, John? As I close this time, let me just say that we are going to conduct ourselves with dignity, with knowledge, evidence, data, fact. Science. I'm going to make you all proud, so that as we did when I took the gavel the first time, we enabled us to not only re-elect our House Democrats then, but to elect a president, a Democratic president of the United States. So while I say that it is my greatest honor to represent you in Congress, that honor is enhanced by being able to say Nancy Pelosi, Democrat of San Francisco, has the gavel. Thank you all very much.